Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Aw. Okay, this looks like a photo in okay, so first of all, there's a photo of you in nice shoes. And a very nice white skirt, and then also a sort of white, no, maybe it's a white dress with a jacket on top of it. And then next to you, sort of kneeling down, is a handsome fellow with kind of a silvery beard, dressed all in black. It looks like a street in mid-levels in Hong Kong. You're looking at the photo. You're both looking at the photographer with a neutral expression, open. It looks like it's roughly midday, probably sunny with cloudy periods. Not too hot in Hong Kong because nobody's really sweating. Nobody's glowing from the sweat. So, yeah, very nice. Is this Alex who made the photo? And what's going on in this photo?
Yeah, that is Alex. That was my creative partner in Hong Kong. So Alex is from the UK and he went to art school. So we had that kind of London art school thing going on in a city like Hong Kong, which is just very absurd. So we, at one point pre-pandemic, we were going to set up a business whereby we would do portraiture and not makeovers, but portraiture and photography around everything kind of waste and upcycled and recycled and secondhand. So we would give people very professional looking photos, but with a bit more of a story and kind of tapping into that low waste. Because in production, in film and all these things, there's so much waste and props get made and they just get chucked. And it's just a system, right? So we wanted to kind of turn that on its head with these very niche offerings of being able to give people images with stories, way more interesting than just, here's my LinkedIn shot. So part of that branding exercise was doing things like that, taking photos of ourselves for the website and the material.
Okay, so the language that you're using is very much within the world that I know, which is in terms of branding, so it's kind of funny how the 3-pound goop in your skull and the 3-pound goop in my skull makes sense of the world in a way that is kind of aligned. And you say things like branding and how you kind of overlapped with conservation and sustainability. So how did you get to that? Like,
yeah.
So going back to when you're 7, were you a big conservationist, or like, what are the roots that resulted in that image?
So as for being I'm South African, Portuguese.
Okay.
So being South African, we're just naturally, it's in our DNA to just...
Wait. You said I'm South African and you just something like Portuguese?
Yeah. So I was born in Portugal.
Okay. So, but your name is German.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, it's everything. It's okay. Great. Okay.
It's a long story. But
no, I love it.
So being South African, I think we don't think twice about, yes, of course, animals should be part of our lives. And of course, there's this naturally given symbiosis that we all coexist. Within reason, right? But wildlife, nature, landscapes, being barefoot isn't a crazy idea. It is part of your landscape. So, and then I have a super kooky mother who she's a bit like Dr. Dolittle. She'll go stand in the middle of a field and wild animals will just gravitate towards her.
Oh, wow.
So she has this absolute affinity to nature, and that has also informed my view of the world. And so I think moving from somewhere like South Africa to Hong Kong was really, I didn't move from those two geographies, but spending time in those two geographies, I kind of felt like I was seeing both sides of an equation, whereby in South Africa, you have rhinos and elephants, and in Shenyang, you've got tusks and you've got ivory shops. And so you're kind of like, you've gone from one end of the chain to the other. And you kind of also get a bigger understanding of why these things happen and how they happen. If you're in South Africa and you think about these markets where people are trading ivory, but that's kind of absurd. It's an elephant tooth, and what's the value? And then you live in Asia, and then you're like, okay, I understand how, I don't agree with it, but that's not the point. I understand the mentality that creates these worlds. So yeah, I think being exposed to nature from a young age, having that nurtured by a mother, And then coming to this part of the world where there's just a bit of a different dynamic with natural landscapes and wildlife, particularly in Hong Kong, where many people don't have space for animals. They're expensive. They don't have time to look after a lot of pets. And so there's just a very different dynamic, and animals are maybe seen as something that sometimes you wear, or it's more of a garment than somebody you share a planet with. And anyway, so just even looking at like children with dogs, children are usually fearful of dogs. And so there's just, to me, so many missed opportunities because dogs are amazing. But anyway, so long story short, I think it's by design, by nature, by nurture, and then just by the fortune of having to see so many different geographies and understand so many different drivers to people's mindsets and beliefs and money, of course, money.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I had a conversation with somebody who's from South Africa. So being from Canada, large open spaces, the sort of the crazy pendulum of the weather out there, going, for example, if going at it from British Columbia, where everything's just huge, and just thinking about like the place of forests and the water and everything. Okay, so there's that, and how that shapes your mind. And then coming from South Africa, which is a more, so like it's also like how all of that shapes the mentality in space. And yet, when you consider Hong Kong, which actually has unbelievable biodiversity. I think Hong Kong has like 250 or 300 species of butterflies, and for just Hong Kong. And that's the same number for all of Canada.
Wow.
So like the density here is just really astounding. You go outside, you see 50 different species of snakes, you have all the insects. And it's true that Hong Kong, like for somebody who has lots of dogs and cats, it's true that when we go hiking, most people are fearful. So how does the concept of fear sit in? Because you seem to have a real comfort or understanding of the psychology, people's sort of psychology. You used words that seems to suggest that you have an attentiveness to that. So where does fear fit in?
I think fear is self-created. It's real. It's physical. It's messaged. It's communicated. It serves certain people's purposes. So it comes at us from multiple angles. And I think, for example, if you are someone who's never grown up with animals, you never had a pet, and you see a dog walking down the street towards you, I would get that you'd be fearful. I get it. And that's weird to me that I get that, because I like to think I'm the opposite. But then I spent so many years not having pets that I kind of stepped out of that equation. And now I've got 2 rescue dogs. So now I'm in a different equation, and I'm kind of back into, why are you scared of my dog kind of mentality. But there's another layer now that I live in a Muslim country. So people have all kinds of reactions to my dogs. So then there's like even more layers added onto it. But I think the long and the short of it is that some people have had genuinely traumatic experiences. They've been bitten by a dog once, and that might have been by accident, or just, the dog was playing. And so the way we perceive what happens to us, the way we perceive what could happen to us, and the way that we perceive the world all exist in very different planes. But I actually, I don't know why, but I kind of have empathy for every angle. I get a bit frustrated when people are scared of dogs, because it's like, come on, these are like amazing species, and it's our loss that we don't understand and interact with them, because they actually do way more for us than we could do for them. Not that that's important, but if you really want to spin it on that angle, you're missing out on so much.
Sure.
However, at the same time, I have, if we don't habituate people, we don't make things easier and more inviting, be that through language, be that through messaging, film, videos, photos. We're getting all this messaging all the time. And if a certain geography wants to tell you that dogs are dangerous and nasty and will bite your hand off, or they're just evil, it's going to sink in. So I don't blame people. I just wish that we would focus on the right things, and everybody benefit from that.
Okay, well, as you're saying this, I've got this photo of these two people beautifully looking at me on the screen. Should we move on to the next photo?
Yeah, I have no idea what you're looking up. It's been
Well,
a
I'm
while
looking at the
since.
photo of you, and is that your husband, or is that who's like in the photo in what looks like mid levels, where you're wearing the white dress, the black, and then the man is silver. Is that your husband, or
I don't
because
know
you're a
what you
very
look.
striking image?
I forget the photo. I'm so sorry. It's been a while since I sent these, and I have no idea what I ended up sending you. So I'm reliving this experience with you as you're describing. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a nice image.
Amazing. Well, it's a great photo. It's a great portrait, and since we're both confused, let's move on to the next photo. So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.